Just to start off, Vera, you said after the game last week against the Philippines that it was all about getting the players into the rhythm because you had a minimum amount of time, just 2 weeks, rather than the 6 weeks you might get in a regular pre-season. Do you feel that rhythm is starting to take its course now?
Yeah, it will never be as good as in full competition, of course, because you only have 2 weeks. But the way that we've set up the program is day by day getting that rhythm in the play. So we played a lot of 11-a-side. We've tried all the different options. But aside that, we've been done a lot in possessional plays. And we have done two firm conditioning sessions in those 2 weeks. And the planning of everything shows. We've just actually now we went through with the heart rates, the recovery heart rates with the technical staff, and you can see that every player is getting in balance now. So the last few days, it's about getting sharp, getting the rhythm of play in, getting the game plan sharp, and making sure that when the moment the whistle goes, that everybody is fresh and sharp and ready for that task.
Sounds like quite a scientific preparation these days, Vera.
Yeah, that's true. The players are wearing their heart rate monitors every session, and we've monitored every session, every single player, and we've individually periodized every single player within the team preparation. So yeah, it's so far so good. It looks like we have no injuries. Of course, a few niggles, that is normal, but we have no injuries, and that is something that we can be proud of.
Yeah, and you said you wanted to take the heat out as a factor. You didn't want it to be a factor on Monday. It's a little bit cooler, I think, in Gorey in Georgia, maybe a couple of degrees lower than it is where you are now in Antalya. So do you feel you've done that, you've been successful, that the heat is now not going to be a factor on Monday?
Yeah, and that is why we monitor also that every day. And that is why we train now at 7 p.m. to get a little bit lower heat so that the intensity of the training can go up. And that we can put in the work that we have to do. But so at 7 p.m. you can compare it with more or less with the conditions in Georgia.
Was there any requests made to FIFA about water breaks mid-game, or is it going to be just the straight through the 45 minutes each half?
That is up to the referee. And the referee has strict guidelines in that. So the temperature will be measured, I think it is an hour before the game, and then it will be decided whether there will be a water break. So we have no influence in that. It's a qualifying game, and that's up to the referee. And of course, we hope that can come in if the temperature is too high. But if the referee decides not to do it, then we have to accept.
I think everybody felt that the game against Sweden, the draw, where I suppose on the outside of the camp, there wasn't a huge amount of expectation going into that game. It felt like a bit of a landmark result to everybody outside the Irish camp, a historical result for this Irish women's team. It's almost a different prospect this Monday because there will be huge expectation because you've beaten this team 11-0. They've had varying results, albeit they do get beaten still at home, but while losing to 15-0 to Sweden, they only lost 3-0 to Finland. So is the Finnish game is that the one we can maybe expect more on Monday, do you think?
We need to see. We prepare the same way as we did in game plan wise, as we did at the home game, because it's the same type of opponent. They have played 3-0 against Finland and 4-0 against Sweden in their first game against Sweden. We've been analyzing the game of Sweden and what the difference was between the first and the second game, and it looks like they've been really watching our game before they went into their second game. It's a different style of play, and it's a bit similar as we did. So we need to see if we are sharp enough. That will be the key thing. Are we sharp enough within our game plan to be able to score? And they will play their plan, of course, to stop us from scoring and trying to beat us with a break. And they have decent players up front who are fast and can break if we leave space, and we will leave space. So it's not only preparation is not only about scoring goals or getting the first goal on the score sheet, but it is equally how to keep them under pressure so that we cannot be beaten with the space that we leave behind us.
And if you break the game up into segments, and because players they might get a little bit tired on Monday, and substitutions might be crucial as well. Do you feel like that because Katie McCabe spoke as well about patience, because if they are playing with a low block, they'll be hard to break down. Do you figure that perhaps the last quarter of an hour of the match, the last 15 minutes from 75 onwards, do you think that might be the most crucial part of the game?
That depends. Sorry. That depends. If we can score early goals, then the last 15 minutes will not be as crucial. If we cannot score, then we have to have our game plan ready, and we will have it ready.
You'd like something from Denise O'Sullivan that we maybe saw last weekend, would you?
Yeah, it was a fantastic goal. We've used that as one of the examples. We've used examples of how to beat a deep block from men's Champions League games and women's top games. And one of the examples was this goal.
Which men's Champions League games were you looking at as an example?
Oh, several ones of Man City, Man United. Which games were in it? It was just the top games.
Yeah. Which of the Irish players do you think could be key? Like, obviously, Denise.
I can remember Chelsea. There was a game of Chelsea in it. The top men's games.
Yeah. Like, of the Irish players, obviously Denise is a standout, but who else do you think could be key to unlocking a tight defence like Georgia?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I don't understand the question.
Denise O'Sullivan would obviously be a key factor if you are to try and break down a defence like this, a key player. Who else in the Irish team do you think could provide you with that key to unlock a deep defence?
The key is that everybody is keep playing the game plan, also when it doesn't go our way, because we will have plan B ready. And if players are going to jump on their own game plan, doing things that they think, well, then I'm going to do it myself, or then I'm going to dribble on the moment that everybody expects passes, that is the moment you lose control. So as long as we keep playing the game plan, then I am absolutely sure that we will create chance, and then it's the moment that the individual needs to convert. Denise is very important in that game plan, but likewise all the others around her, because the crosses of Katie, the finishing in the box, do we get enough players there? The cover of the attack, the cover of depth behind our attack, the cover of our own half, the goalkeeper who needs to cover the space behind the defenders. So you cannot say it's one player, it's the whole package that is important, and that everybody connects to one another, playing the game plan so that teamwork is at the highest level possible.
It was interesting listening to the players speaking this week. I think Niamh Fahey might have mentioned, she was asked about, was there any outside psychologists brought into the camp maybe to help them out? But she said no, that you yourself, you like to help players with their mindset and positivity and that kind of thing. I was just interested to know what kind of work you do with the players to help their mentality going into big games like this.
You know what it is? Players get unsure if you ask things from them that they're not ready for or that are not their strength. And I think, and I believe in that, and that shows every time, that you can play your best game if things are clear to you. As soon as it's not clear what you can expect from each other and what your task is within that teamwork, then you start to hesitate. And like playing away in Sweden, everybody thought that we could collapse under the pressure. Nobody in the team at one moment the feeling that they could collapse, because it was absolutely clear what was expected from them. And if you know your own limits and you know what is expected within your own limits, then you are free to act, and then you have your best performance. And of course, I don't have those things for myself. It's accumulation of my own put in, but also the study that I've done. I'm an ongoing student, not only of the game, but everything around it. So every research that's coming out, or every bit that I can take from anywhere, accumulates to the knowledge and the tools that I have to coach a team. A sport psychologist is coming in the moment that there's a pathological issue. That could be for an individual. I've not had it for a team yet because it's never been necessary, but I did bring in psychologists for the individual when an individual player has problems or is dealing with something. Also, if it's outside football that has been brought in football, and then you need a psychologist. It's like a physiotherapist. A physiotherapist is treating the moment there is an injury and the player cannot play football or needs that help to be able to play football. That's the same with a psychologist. I am not against a psychologist, but I only use a psychologist when the psychologist has a role in the improvement of the performance. And as long as the team is performing at the highest level possible and is raising above themselves in the big games, then it shows that bringing in a psychologist would earlier break that than help it.
There does seem to be a genuine love then between the players and you and the players. It goes back both. Yeah, you kind of sense that after big results. You could really sense that from the game against Sweden. How important do you think that bond has been, both with you and the players, but also the players themselves? It seems to be a really close-knit family.
Yeah, that is something that we guard very much so that everybody is respected. And by times you need to discuss that. And by times you need to put it on the table within the players themselves that you then hear afterwards. So they've sorted things out, but also from the staff to the players, but also within the staff. As long as you respect each other, every problem can be, let's say, a brick in building a wall that nothing can break us anymore. But don't think that it's always, let's say, how do I say that, without any attention or without any pushing, because we pull each other out of comfort zones to become better. Otherwise, you don't get better, then you get what you always got. You need to do things different. You need to get them out of their comfort zone to do things. And as long as you feel respect to each other, then you grow with each other, and then you start to trust each other. And then if there's a conflict, or if there's something that is how do you say that, is not feeling well, then you have the trust and the confidence to discuss that with each other.
And just finally for me then, Vera, this is a massive game, because if you win this, you're basically in control of your own destiny then with the last two matches. Obviously that Finland game becomes really big then. Do you kind of sense that expectation around this team now, that they're so close now to perhaps making history and qualifying for their first ever major tournament? Do you feel that expectation from supporters, even though they're not there for this game, but do you feel that, and do you even feel a bit of nerves yourself, even though you've been here before, you've qualified teams as a manager?
The key, what I find really strong of this team is that they take it game by game. They're fully aware that this game against Georgia is not as easy as everybody think it is. As we've said before, we're coming from complete different backgrounds in, let's say, match fitness and match rhythm. We are here in difficult circumstances, in the heat, in a resort, fantastic pitch, fantastic conditions to train. But again, it's a fine line of what you can do and what you cannot do. And still we need to do the max of what we can do, but making sure that everybody is sharp, is fresh, is ready for the game on Monday. And the focus on this game is very much coming from the players, that they know this is a difficult game. Here we have to perform to be able to even have a chance later. So we don't talk about Finland. And that's not deliberate. That's not something that we discuss to not talk about Finland. It is because everybody is aware how difficult this game is. So the fact that the FAI agreed that we use the November slot, the FIFA slot, that money, to be able to be here, to get a charter to Georgia from here. And you can imagine with the prices going up what that means. But that we are fully ready for that game in all sense, in that everything that we can control, we control. It shows that everybody is very much aware how difficult this game is. Otherwise, we would have said, well, 11-0 at home, we will win there. That is not the case. You can see if Sweden even scores 4-0 and Finland 3-0, it can equally be one of those games that the ball cannot go in, that it hits the post or hits the crossbar, or like the Ukraine game. So we are very much aware of that. That is a scenario that can happen, and we have to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Thanks for your time, Vera, and good luck Monday.
Thank you.